It wasn't until I saw that archaeologist on CNN, holding up a flint stone scorched by fire, that I finally snapped. In that moment, I was sitting on my couch in the living room, and the coffee cup slipped out of my hand and hit the floor. My wife ran out from the kitchen, thinking I'd had a stroke. I hadn't. I was just suddenly realizing that for the past 35 years, I had been trying to convince myself it was all a nightmare. But nightmares don't get dug out of the ground 35 years later and confirmed by a team of archaeologists with brushes and carbon dating equipment. So now I'm sitting here, saying this out loud. Whatever was in that tunnel, those things we encountered underground, those entities, they were not ghosts, not spirits, not any kind of supernatural nonsense. They were far more real than any of those concepts and far older. They were our relatives on the evolutionary tree, relatives we diverged from hundreds of thousands of years ago. They never left the underground, and on that wrong night, we walked into their home. It happened on January 21st, 1968, near Hugh. I still remember the exact coordinates, though I won't say them here. The place may have been filled in by now, or maybe it's still there. We were with the United States Marine Corps, 1st Marine Division, 3rd Recon Battalion. I was a sergeant in charge of a 6-man tunnel rat team. If you know anything about the Vietnam War, you know what January 1968 meant for Hugh. The Tet Offensive was about to begin, but that was 3 days away. Before that, we were conducting standard clearing operations in the jungle outside the city, search and destroy. Our mission was to locate Viet Cong tunnel networks. The North Vietnamese Army and Viet Cong had carved out massive underground systems across the jungle, stretching from North Vietnam deep into the south. Some of these tunnels were large enough to hold entire companies. Our job was to find the entrances, then go down into them, recon, map, sometimes plant explosives. It was hell work. The tunnels were narrow, dark, oxygen-starved, filled with booby traps, punji stakes, and snakes. Tunnel rats had the highest casualty rate in the entire division, but we were all volunteers. I'm not bragging, but at that time I was one of the best tunnel rats in the battalion. I was small, 150 pounds, able to crawl through the tightest passages like a snake. My sense of smell was unusually sharp. I could pick up the scent of enemy waste and fish sauce through layers of soil. I never needed to take a deep breath before entering a tunnel, because I learned something. Fear doesn't shrink when you suppress it. It expands. The best way is to accept it, to carry it with you like you carry a knife, a flashlight, and a .45 pistol. On January 21st, around 2 p.m., our platoon noticed something unusual in a dense bamboo grove. It was too quiet. Not normal quiet. This was the kind of silence where even animals refused to make a sound. I lay on the ground, pinched a bit of soil between my fingers, and brought it to my nose. There was a faint smell of ash and something else, almost imperceptible, a greasy, animal-like odor. I reported it to the platoon leader. 15 minutes later, we found the tunnel entrance deep inside the bamboo, at the base of a massive banyan tree, carefully concealed under dead leaves and branches. The entrance was small, about 2 feet wide, with clear signs of wear along the edges. It wasn't freshly dug. It had been used for a long time. I had the rest of the team prepare gear while I lay at the entrance and shined my flashlight down. The beam cut through about 10 feet of darkness before hitting soft soil. No ladder, no rope system. Whoever used it either dropped in or didn't need a ladder at all. I turned the flashlight off, pressed my ear to the edge, and closed my eyes. That was my habit. Before entering any tunnel, I listened for 30 seconds. What I heard was absolute silence. No rats, no insects, no dripping water, nothing. Just a faint, almost impossible hum, like a massive generator deep underground, or something enormous breathing. Before I continue, I want to pause and talk about something, about war and the boundary of reality. If you spend enough time in the jungle, you start to realize something strange. Reality becomes fluid. In normal life, you know what is real and what isn't. Walls are solid. Fire is hot. Dead people don't move. But in the jungle, after 72 hours without sleep, under constant artillery fire, with the constant fear of stepping on a landmine, reality starts to feel like paper soaked in water. The edges blur. You see dead comrades standing behind trees. You hear your mother calling your name from the radio static. The medics call it combat fatigue, protective hallucinations caused by extreme stress. They have all kinds of terms: PTSD, acute stress disorder, visual and auditory hallucinations. But here's the thing, when I saw those things, I was holding a rifle. The rifle was real, heavy, hot, metallic. When I heard those voices, my heart rate increased for real. My skin reacted for real. So were those things real? Or more precisely, was whatever they pointed to real? It took me 35 years to answer that question. Back to the tunnel. I sent a quick sitrep to battalion over the radio. I requested 15 minutes of silence for initial recon. Approval came through. Then I followed standard tunnel rat procedure. I stripped off my vest, left only my undershirt and pants. I secured my .45 in the holster and taped the buckle shut to prevent noise. I hung 2 chemical light sticks around my neck, one red, one green. Red for marking routes, green for marking hazards. I mounted my flashlight on my left forearm, beam pointed forward. I packed 3 packs of C rations and 2 canteens of water, even though SOP said we should never stay underground more than 45 minutes. My instincts told me otherwise. My team, Torres, from El Paso, Texas, best assistant, could judge depth underground by footsteps. Coleman, from Dayton, Ohio, explosives expert, carried enough C4 to level a city block. Jeffries, from Brooklyn, New York, machine gunner, though better underground with grenades. Williams, from Atlanta, Georgia, medic, carried more morphine than bandages. Kim, from Los Angeles, Korean-American, sniper and secondary observer. And me, 6 men. I went down first. The slope was about 45 degrees, soil extremely loose, freshly disturbed. I moved on elbows and knees, sliding slowly downward. The smell intensified, thick, earthy, but wrong. Not normal soil. There was something ancient in it, like the basement of a museum, like something sealed for thousands of years suddenly opened. I can't describe it properly. It wasn't anything I had ever smelled before. I've smelled rotting bodies, blood, feces, urine, gasoline, gunpowder. But this was different. Old, dry, powdery, like something had been decomposing in total darkness for hundreds of thousands of years. After roughly 15 feet of sliding, the tunnel leveled out. I stopped and swept the flashlight around. I was in a passage about 3 feet high and 4 feet wide. The walls and ceiling were reinforced with a black clay-like soil, and the surface bore clear tool marks, not from shovels or picks, but something more primitive, like sharpened wood or stone. I studied the marks closely. They didn't look Viet Cong tunnels were usually orderly. They used bamboo supports, wooden braces, and smoothed the walls with small shovels until everything was relatively even. This was different. The texture here was rough, almost primal, as if something had been carved out slowly by claws. I drew my .45 pistol and flicked off the safety with my thumb. I tugged the signal line 3 times, clear sign, tunnel secure, others can descend. Torres came down second. When he slid in beside me, I could tell from his expression that he smelled it too. His nose wrinkled. His eyes scanned the walls quickly. He whispered something, but I didn't catch. I signaled for silence and moved forward. The tunnel began a slow bend to the right. Every 10 feet or so, I stopped to listen. The low humming was still there, but now it was clearer, more defined. It had a rhythm, about 40 to 50 cycles per minute. My heart rate was around 120 beats per minute. That meant the rhythm of the sound was less than half my pulse. It didn't match any mechanical system I knew. Diesel generators were faster. Water pumps were irregular. This was too steady, too continuous, like a massive organism's heartbeat. We crawled for roughly 200 feet. At that point, we should have been reaching the edge of the banyan tree's root zone, where Viet Cong tunnel networks typically expanded deeper. But something was wrong. The direction. Based on our surface position and the tunnel's orientation, we should have been moving northeast, away from Hue, toward the coastline. But Viet Cong tunnels in this region generally ran southwest, toward the Ho Chi Minh Trail near the Laos border. This tunnel wasn't extending toward the war zone. It was going the opposite way. I stopped again and shined the flashlight at the ceiling. No bamboo supports, no wooden bracing, just that black, burned-looking clay. I touched it with my fingers. It was hard, almost stone-like. I brought my fingers to my nose. The ancient smell intensified, but underneath it I caught something else. Smoke. Not cigarette smoke or campfire smoke. Something purer, older, like the residue of incomplete combustion. Tar and hydrocarbons trapped in soil, as if a fire had burned centuries, maybe millennia ago. Torres tapped my ankle from behind. I turned. He pointed to his ear. He had heard something. I shut off the flashlight. The The tunnel dropped into absolute darkness. In that kind of darkness, your other senses sharpened to extremes. I could hear Torres breathing, my own heartbeat, blood moving in my ears. And beneath all of it, there it was, footsteps. Not human footsteps. Human steps above ground are heavy and distinct. Underground, they become muffled. These were different, light, slow, but sharply defined, as if something were striking the ground with the flat of a foot or hand. And they were ahead of us, deeper in the tunnel, coming toward us. I didn't move immediately. Tunnel rats had a rule. If you heard something unusual, you stayed still. 30 seconds of absolute stillness to determine pattern and direction. Sometimes it was just your heartbeat echoing through soil. Sometimes groundwater, rats, snakes. But after 30 seconds, I knew. The footsteps were approaching. And there wasn't just one set, there were several. Uncoordinated. Not a patrol. More like movement without purpose. But all of it too light. So light that outside absolute silence and darkness, you wouldn't hear it at all. I turned the flashlight back on. The beam cut forward. Nothing. And at that exact moment, the footsteps stopped. As if whatever was there knew the light had returned. My palms started to sweat. Not fear, not what I thought of as fear, but something older. A reflexive alertness, like sensing eyes in the jungle before seeing anything at all. I made a decision I shouldn't have made. I moved forward. Not out of bravery. Out of curiosity. In this job, curiosity becomes a disease. You crawl underground enough times and you start thinking you've seen everything: booby traps, mass graves, ammo caches, command posts. You think war has stripped mystery away, leaving only dirt and darkness. But then you hear footsteps in a place where there shouldn't be any footsteps, and you realize everything you thought you knew is just a thin surface layer. Something is underneath it, waiting, and you want to know what it is. That desire is as strong as fear, sometimes stronger. We crawled another 100 feet. The tunnel widened gradually. The ceiling rose. I shifted from crawling to crouching, then to a bent walk. The flashlight beam reached farther, and I saw it. An opening, a larger space, a chamber. I switched off the flashlight and threw a red chem light forward. It arced through the darkness and hit the ground. A soft red glow spread. It revealed part of the floor, perfectly flat, too flat, more precise than anything Viet Cong could have built. The surface was covered in a black, compressed layer, like ash pressed into stone. At the edge of the red light, I saw shapes, low, irregular, like furniture or tools. But before I could make them out, the glow faded. I signaled Torres for the green chem light. I threw it in another direction. Green light washed across the opposite wall, and I saw the murals, figures painted in black pigment, turning sickly teal under the green glow. Thin, twisted human-like forms, kneeling, heads thrown back, mouths open wide, as if singing or screaming, jagged lines around them. Fire, I thought at the time. I crawled into the chamber and stood. The ceiling was about 7 feet high. My head almost brushed it. The room was roughly 20 feet long and 15 feet wide. Perfect geometry, perfect right angles. This wasn't natural, not rushed excavation either. It was designed, deliberately constructed by something with an understanding of geometry and space. But the problem was simple. The Viet Cong didn't have that capability. The North Vietnamese army didn't either. Not at this depth, not in this location. Whatever had built this, its engineering, its labor, its precision, was far beyond anything a guerrilla force or conventional army should have been able to achieve. I began examining the room more carefully. Torres and Coleman crawled in as well. When they stood up, I saw their expressions. That wasn't the face of soldiers on a mission. It was the expression of ordinary men stepping for the first time into an Egyptian tomb chamber. Fear, awe, and disbelief mixed together. Coleman knelt down and inspected the black material on the floor. He scraped at it with his fingers, then brought the powder to his nose. He looked up at me and said something I will never forget. "Sergeant," he said, "this is ash, but it didn't come from wood. This is bone." I moved over and knelt beside him. The black layer covering the floor, about an inch thick, spanned the entire chamber. I pinched a small amount between my fingers and brought it to my nose. That ancient, dry smell nearly choked me. This was where it came from. Not soil, not dust, bone ash. Layers upon layers of it, accumulated over hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of years, compressed by time into a rock-like mass. When I stood up, I could feel my boots sinking into it, leaving deep impressions. In the red chem light, those footprints looked stark and invasive, like something profane had just entered a place that had never been touched. Then I saw the murals. The thin, twisted humanoid figures stared back at me from the walls. I approached one wall and examined them with my flashlight. The pigment was black, but up close I noticed tiny shimmering particles embedded in it, like mica or some kind of metal dust. Each figure was about a foot tall, arranged in a continuous narrative band, as if telling a story. In the first sequence, the figures stood upright, arms raised toward the sky, as if greeting something descending from above. In the second, their bodies had grown larger, bellies swollen, frames stronger. In the third, they were fighting, tearing at each other, striking with stones and sticks. In the fourth sequence, they began moving underground. Their bodies shrank, becoming thinner, more elongated. Their limbs turned more claw-like. Their eyes grew larger. Their mouths widened. In the final panel, the figures were gone entirely, replaced by abstract lines and symbols I could not understand. Standing there, I felt a wave of dizziness. Not from oxygen deprivation, though the air was thinning, but from realization. These weren't myths, not legends. They were records, a history, a real one, a chronicle of something that had lived, changed, and descended underground over countless generations. I know how insane that sounds. A Marine sergeant in 1968, in a Viet Cong tunnel beneath the jungle, staring at prehistoric murals and concluding he was witnessing the evolution of a lost branch of humanity. Even at the time, with the flashlight on the wall and bone ash under my boots, I knew how insane it sounded. But I still believed it. Or worse, I couldn't not believe it. I decided to go deeper. Not because I was brave, because I was stupid. I told myself it was duty, intelligence gathering. If the Viet Cong had discovered this and were using it, we needed to understand it. But even I didn't believe that excuse. I just wanted to see more. Something in me had been awakened, something old. Not curiosity, something more primitive. Pull backward. As if part of me wanted to return to a time when all humans lived on the surface, spoke one language, and believed in one shared myth. We continued. From the far side of the chamber, a narrower passage led deeper underground, barely 2 feet high and 3 feet wide. Deep claw marks ran along its walls. Deep, parallel scratches, as if something with claws had repeatedly raked through the soil. I raised my .45 and crawled forward. This time I could feel the slope clearly descending. The soil became wetter, colder. Oxygen dropped noticeably. My breathing tightened. It felt like an invisible hand pressing on my lungs. I forced myself to slow my breathing. Torres behind me was struggling too. After about 50 feet, the passage suddenly widened again. I stood up. Ahead was another chamber. This one was larger, at least 100 feet long, 50 feet wide, with a ceiling 10 to 12 feet high. A vast underground hall. Not natural, not even hastily excavated, but carved, intentionally shaped out of stone and earth by something with force and purpose. The walls weren't flat. They had rhythmic, repeating indentations, like the structure of a massive ribcage. At the far end of the hall, I saw light. Not flashlight beams, not chem lights. A soft, pulsing orange-red glow leaking through cracks in the rock walls, like magma breathing slowly beneath the earth, casting the entire chamber in a hellish tint. And in that glow, I saw them, dozens, maybe over 100, spread across the floor, smaller than I expected. Not tall, muscular cave dwellers like I had imagined. They were short, 4 to 5 feet at most. Thin, elongated bodies, arms and legs like bamboo joints. Their skin was pale gray, almost translucent. I could see veins and muscle fibers beneath it. Their heads were oversized, disproportionate, like infant skulls placed on adult bodies. Their faces were degraded, noses reduced to small openings, mouths wide and thin-lipped, lined with small, sharp teeth. But what froze me most were their eyes. Large, no eyelids, no iris, just pure blackness. Deep, void-like pupils reflecting the orange-red light like polished obsidian. They could see everything, because their entire eyes were pupil. No white, no color, only darkness. They didn't notice us, or maybe they did and simply didn't care. They were engaged in some kind of activity. They stood in circular formations, each circle centered around something smaller, something childlike. lying on the ground. The ones in the circles moved slowly. Their motion looked like dancing or some kind of ritual. Their arms swayed at their sides. Their heads rocked in a steady rhythm, their mouths opening and closing in silence. I couldn't hear them, but I knew they were making sound, because I could feel it, that low-frequency hum, the same one from the tunnel entrance, the same one that had followed us all the way down, was now so strong I could feel my teeth resonating. It wasn't sound, it was vibration. They weren't speaking through air, they were speaking through the ground, through the earth itself. I stood there watching for about 2 minutes. In those 2 minutes, I forgot who I was, where I was, why I was there. My mind tried to categorize what I was seeing. Monkeys, humans, children, corpses, statues, but nothing fit. Each label broke as soon as it was applied. They were all of those things and none of them. Something we had once been and left behind. Not monsters, not demons, human, just not us. A branch of humanity that never came back to the surface. Then I made a mistake. A stupid, unforgivable mistake. My finger slipped on the flashlight mount. It detached from my forearm and hit the ground. It bounced twice on the bone ash floor, 2 sharp metallic cracks. The sound echoed through the chamber like a stone dropped into still water. Everything stopped. Every single movement in the circles froze. 100 black eyes turned toward us at once. I swear, I felt them look at me. Not visually, there were no pupils, no focus, but physically. Like pressure. Like the entire chamber's air had suddenly compressed around my body. My heart spiked to at least 180 beats per minute. My vision tunneled. My muscles locked. And my brain issued one clear, primitive command. Run. But I couldn't. Torres and Coleman were still behind me. They hadn't seen them yet. I heard Torres whisper, "Sergeant, what is that?" His voice was shaking. I had never heard Torres sound afraid. Not in firefights, not under artillery, not while reloading under fire. But now he sounded like a child waking up in the dark. The creatures began moving, not charging, not attacking, approaching, slowly at first, then in coordinated spirals across the chamber. Their arms still swayed, their heads still rocked, but their speed increased. I could hear them now, a dense pattern of soft impacts against the ground, like rainfall made of footsteps. The hum intensified. My vision began to blur at the edges. My eyes vibrated in their sockets. I gave the retreat signal, standard tunnel rat hand gestures, but I don't know if they saw it. The orange-red glow was too dim, and my flashlight was gone. Still, I heard them moving back. Torres first, Coleman right behind him. I bent down to grab the flashlight, and the moment my hand touched it, I looked up. One of them was standing in front of me, less than 10 feet away. I don't know how it got there. I didn't hear it, didn't feel it move. It was simply there, like it had always been there, and I had only just become capable of seeing it. It stood in the orange-red glow, its gray-white skin reflecting the light like wet stone. His head tilted slightly, his black eyes locked directly onto mine, and I knew with absolute certainty that it was looking at me, not through eyes, through its entire body. It was studying me the way you study something foreign in the wild, something potentially dangerous but incomprehensible. And I saw something in it, not my reflection, not hostility, something older, heavier, almost like sorrow. Deep inside those black eyes, there was something like a distant ember, faint, forgotten, still burning, a memory of something it no longer had words for, like wind, the surface, something it had once known and lost so completely it had become myth inside its own biology. I raised my 45, I don't know why, training, instinct, conditioning, a soldier's reflex when confronted with the unknown. The barrel pointed at it. It looked at the weapon, then at me. No fear, no recognition. It didn't know what a gun was. In its world, there was no metal, no gunpowder, no ballistic logic, only earth, pressure, darkness. I didn't fire. I lowered the gun, turned, and ran. I crawled through everything. The chamber, the mural room, the bone ash floor, the narrow passages twisting back upward. I didn't look behind me, didn't switch off the light, didn't stay quiet. I climbed like an animal trying to escape its own burial. My fingernails tore through soil. My knees scraped against stone. My breath turned into something I couldn't control. A low, broken sound in my throat. Torres and Coleman were ahead of me, but we were no longer a unit. We were no longer Marines, no longer tunnel rats, just three terrified men trying to reach the surface before the Earth decided to keep us. We crawled out of the entrance when it was already completely dark. The rest of the platoon had established a defensive perimeter around the hole. When they saw the three of us emerge, covered in mud, eyes wide open, lips pale and trembling, they froze. Not a single word came out. Williams, our medic, rushed over immediately and checked our vitals. He felt my carotid pulse, then placed his hand on my forehead. He said my heart rate was too high and my body temperature was too low, and that I needed an injection. I pushed his hand away. I walked straight to the platoon commander and told him we needed to leave the area immediately. We needed to destroy the tunnel. We needed to never come back. He looked at me for a long time. He was a good platoon commander, an experienced veteran. He knew the difference between tactical withdrawal and psychological collapse. He looked into my eyes, and he understood I wasn't requesting anything. I was pleading. A sergeant pleading with his platoon commander was not acceptable in the Marine Corps, but that moment he saw something in my eyes, something I had brought up from below, something still there. He said, "All right." Then he ordered engineers to place 400 pounds of C4 at the entrance. 15 minutes later, we detonated it. The ground shook violently. The roots of the banyan tree were torn apart. The entrance was completely buried. That night, we didn't return to base. We set up a defensive position on higher ground. I sat in my fighting hole, holding my rifle, staring into the jungle darkness. Everything sounded normal again. Crickets, frogs, distant monkeys screaming. But the low-frequency hum was gone. It had disappeared. Or more precisely, it had gone back underground, where it belonged, where it had been for hundreds of thousands of years. The next morning, we returned to base. I submitted a SITREP, a full intelligence report, describing everything we had found, the underground chamber, the murals, the bone ash floor, the entities. I wrote it in the most clinical, controlled language I could. No monsters. Unidentified humanoid entities. No fear. Observed anomalous behavioral patterns. I handed the report to an intelligence officer, a young captain. He read it, then looked at me. I will never forget his expression. Not disbelief, not mockery, just exhaustion. Like he had seen too many reports like this already. Like he knew exactly what would happen to me next. He placed the report on his desk and told me he would forward it up the chain. Then he said I should report to medical for a psychological evaluation, because I had obviously been in the tunnel too long and experienced visual disturbances due to oxygen deprivation. He didn't look at me when he said it. He looked past me. I understood what he was doing. He was giving me an exit, clean one. I could take the evaluation, accept the diagnosis of combat fatigue, get medication, rest a few days, and return to my unit. Or I could insist it was real and be sent away, either to higher medical review or out of the Corps entirely. I chose the first option. I went to the evaluation. The doctor asked if I had heard voices. I said no. He asked if I had seen dead people. I said no. He asked if I had nightmares. I said no. He asked what I saw in the tunnel. I said, just murals and empty rooms. He wrote something down, closed the file, and told me to rest. I went back to the barracks, showered, and slept for 12 hours. When I woke up, my memory was already fading. Details of the chamber, the creatures, even the black eyes, they were slipping away like a dream dissolving after waking. I almost convinced myself it had been hallucination. Almost. Then I looked at my hands. Black powder was still embedded under my fingernails. Bone ash. I scrubbed them 3 times with soap and water. It didn't fully come out. It felt like it had already entered me. I never told anyone. For 35 years. I married, had children, took an ordinary job, lived an ordinary life. I thought it was buried, like the tunnel. But some things cannot be buried. They only wait, waiting for someone else to dig. In 2008, I saw a CNN report. Archaeologists in Africa had discovered evidence of early humans using fire 780,000 years ago. Burned flint, burned bone with human bite marks. At the end of the report, one of the archaeologists said something that made my spine go cold. He said, "When we found the site, we noticed strange patterns on the cave walls. Thin, distorted humanoid figures moving downward into the earth. We don't know what they mean. Maybe imagination, or something else. I turned off the television, went to the bathroom and started washing my hands. Over and over. Soap, brush, hot water. The black substance was gone long ago, but I could still smell it. That ancient, dry smell, like something decomposing in total darkness for hundreds of thousands of years. It wasn't on my hands. It was in my memory, in my bones, deep underground, 7,800,000 years deep, waiting. And now I want to ask you something. A question I only became willing to ask after 35 years. When early humans first learned to use fire, when they first walked into caves with torches, when they first painted those thin, distorted figures on the walls, who were they drawing? Themselves? Or what they found below them? What had already gone down before them? What never left? What is still there? I don't know the answer. All I know is this. On January 21st, 1968, outside Hugh, I saw them. I saw their black eyes. And inside those eyes, I saw something like a distant light. Small, faint, endless, burning. From 780,000 years ago to now and beyond. Don't look for them. Don't dig too deep. Because underground is not empty. Something is waiting. And it has all the time in the world.